Archie's TV Laugh Out issue 21. There's a comedy page where Ethel wishes she could make Jughead sit next to her, and Sabrina casts a spell to bring the popcorn and soda and candy machines next to Ethel, which makes Jughead sit beside her. There's another one where Hilda says at the picnic grounds that her potion fell out of the hole in her basket, and whoever drinks it turns into a pig. Why did she make it then? So we see that Jughead drank it. Then Sabrina's mad that a woman stole her boyfriend at the beach. So she casts a spell to make it rain, and cats and dogs fall from the sky, which she should have expected considering that cats and dogs were in the words of the spell. Then Sabrina casts a spell to double Ethel's chances of catching Jughead. Don't the writers ever get tired of this? The story ends with two Ethels running towards them. Then Sabrina sees someone refuse to let Archie use his air pump at a place with a sign saying free air. Sabrina casts a spell on the pump telling it to give him more air. Somehow she doesn't know how to make it stop, and makes his car float. So issue 21 was just a bunch of comedy pages as far as Sabrina's concerned. There's not much to say as a result. It's interesting that the writers found new ways for her to try to assist Ethel, even if she shouldn't. I like that in the first comedy page, she gave Jughead an actual in-character reason to sit beside Ethel. Archie's TV Laugh Out issue 22. In a comedy page called Lazy Days, Sabrina thanks the genie for getting her robe and slippers. Hilda complains to the genie about Sabrina getting lazy instead of being grateful that she's using her magic to the fullest. Even though Hilda wants her to embrace being a witch, it should always be Zelda having these moments instead. Zelda tells the genie to make Sabrina do things for herself. They do have good intentions, it's better for Sabrina not to be lazy, but they're still not coming off as sympathetic. So when Sabrina tells the genie to give her milk, he brings her a cow and tells her to milk it herself. She looks shocked, but all she'd have to do is point to make the milk come out of it. And why does she even tell him to fetch her some milk instead of just summoning milk by pointing and imagining it? Too lazy to do that? Maybe Rance had a point. She could have just warped her robe and slippers to her instead of summoning a genie. Then there's a comedy page called Tragic Magic. The most common story title ever for some reason. Sabrina wishes she had paper, a pen, and ink. She's surprised when it shows up. Hilda goes over to her and says that because today's her birthday, the head witch is granting her any 3 wishes she wants. And Sabrina says, "Now you tell me." So Sabrina wasted her wishes. Why would Sabrina say, "and some ink"? When you wish you had a pen, the "and it has ink" part is implied. And she wouldn't say any of that because she'd just point to zap the paper and pen to her. So this wouldn't happen. Also, it's out of character for Adele the Evil Witch to care enough to grant her wishes at all. Archie's TV Laugh Out issue 24. The Old Refrain. Sabrina tells Hilda she's going out, and Hilda says okay. Sabrina randomly asks if she even cares a little while shedding a tear, and asks if she cares what happens to her. Where did that come from? The first panel seemed pretty normal. Naturally, Hilda wants her to run that by her again, and Sabrina explains that when other kids leave the house, their mothers don't say okay. She says that they say, "Be careful crossing streets," or "If you break a leg, don't come running to me." Since when would a mother say that last sentence? That's a dark joke. And "don't get run over" is pretty callous. So why would she want her to say that? Hilda says all of Sabrina's friends have nutty mothers, and Sabrina says their mothers are just concerned. Hilda points out that her friends don't need to be told not to get hit by cars, and Sabrina says that's just a mother's way of showing she cares. Since Hilda's a proudly evil witch, it makes a little sense that Sabrina would wonder if she cares about her. But this has gone boring. Hilda naturally points out that if anything happens to Sabrina, she's got the power to stop it. She tells Sabrina to run along and play with her friends, and Sabrina walks away and her friends see a car heading towards her, and they waste time saying what's happening. If it was really too late for them to do anything, they wouldn't have had the time to say all that. Wouldn't she have heard the car coming? Sabrina uses magic to make the car float, and Archie lies to Jughead they didn't see that, And Jughead says the same thing instead of properly reacting to the proof that Archie saw what he saw. And Archie doesn't properly react to that. A kid hits a baseball with his bat near Sabrina and has the time to tell her to duck, even though he's too close to her. Sabrina uses magic to turn the ball into a bundle of soft feathers. This scares Archie and Jughead, and they get suspicious of her. Jughead says that nothing ever happens to her, and so does Veronica, as the kid hits a puck, and Sabrina says she has to refrain to avoid suspicion. That's stupid of her because she can erase memories. So she would just protect herself and then make her friends forget all the times she avoided getting hurt. Usually the same few people or the same person writes all of the Sabrina stories in a comic. So I don't see why the writer would forget the earlier stories where she used magic to erase memories. And I was expecting her to instinctively protect herself with magic anyways, because that's what happened in a 70s comic story with the exact same dilemma. Instead, she gets hit in the head, and her friends care enough to carry her home. So the next day, she's got a bandage on her head, when Hilda and her could have just rewritten people's memories to make them forget that Sabrina got hurt, and then healed her injury. Hilda tells her not to get run over, and says a bunch of other things related to staying safe too, and Sabrina hugs her, relieved that she loves her. This story was about Sabrina doubting that Hilda cares about her because she just says okay when she leaves the house, instead of warning her to be careful, even though she's got a point that her powers can protect her. And because Archie sees her use magic to protect herself, and she didn't just erase his memory of that, she lets herself get hurt to make him stop being suspicious, even though she can erase memories to cover up her secret. And it'd be more believable if she instinctively saved herself anyways out of fear. Maybe this is so early in the series that it wasn't established that she can erase memories yet. But witches have always been written under the assumption that they're omnipotent in this series. And for all she knew, letting that puck hit her head could have killed her. And I don't know if it was realistic how things turned out after that. Archie's TV Laugh Out issue 26. There's a bunch of comedy pages here. Hilda gives Sabrina a potion to drink, and Sabrina says there's a beetle in it, and Hilda's only unhappy because there should be a lizard there instead. Why would she expect her to drink a potion with a lizard in it? Maybe she wanted her to freak out and it was a prank. Someone asks Sabrina if it's true that she can use magic, implying that it's a common rumor around her actually. Sabrina says yes, even though she also says it's a secret. That's out of character. She gets asked if she could turn Ethel into a beauty queen, and she says she only does magic, not miracles. Which makes no sense. Because she could do that. There's not much she couldn't do. And she relishes in causing miracles because she loves helping people. Then Sabrina says the recipe for upside down cake looks too complicated. So she uses magic, saying that she'll make it with magic the easy way. Then she's upside down on the floor and wonders what went wrong. I'm wondering that too because she's normally great at magic. She'd just imagine an upside down cake and it'd get created. Then Grundy catches Harvey passing notes to Sabrina and says his grades are failing because he's not paying attention in class. Harvey says he was just telling her to meet her at the malt shop, and Grundy says that's not helping his grades any. Couldn't you have told her to meet him there after class? He asks if there's something he can still do to help his grades, and what he had in mind was begging. What did this have to do with magic? This could have been a comedy page focused on Archie for all it mattered. Well, that was a confusing issue. Archie's TV Laugh Out issue 27, Power Play. Sabrina sneezes, so Hilda says she shouldn't be going out. And summer colds are the worst kind, and they'll sap her strength. Sabrina goes outside, and Harvey says the same thing Hilda did. Harvey's so happy because it's summer, even though it'd be really hot out, that he'd like to jump over a branch. You'd think the heat of the summer would sap his strength, not give him more energy. Sabrina says to go ahead and try, and says the spell out loud to help him. But somehow the spell fails and he gets hurt. And somehow her spell to save Harvey from getting hit by a baseball fails too. That's dumb. She apologizes, and because an underground water pipe burst, the streets are wet. Sabrina still failed to learn her lesson, so she tells Harvey to jump over a puddle and cast a spell, and that fails too. So the story ends with her in bed before dinner. This story is about the idea that witches' spells don't work anymore when they get summer colds, which doesn't make any sense to me. Why would they lose their powers because of that? They'd still have their magic there. So Harvey gets a bunch of slapstick because Sabrina's spells keep failing, and he wants to jump over stuff to celebrate the hot summer heat for some reason. This was just a confusing story. Archie's TV Lab Out, Issue 28, Grade 8. Miss Grundy tells Sabrina to hand out the report cards, and for some reason she can immediately see the grades of someone. I remember report cards to be contained in folders, and you have to take them out of them to see them. Was that not done in the 70s, or is this unrealistic? So because of that lack of privacy, Sabrina sees Moose's terrible report card. How does Recess have a grade? She uses magic to give him a report card full of A's, and he's upset because he somehow assumes that the A's stand for atrocious. I guess what he means is that he assumes they were given to him sarcastically and that they have the authority to do that because they're authority figures. That's really forced. He'd have heard about students getting A's from Dilton and TV, so he'd know what an A means. And beside it, there's a pin-up where Harvey says they shouldn't let kids into the theater to see a monster movie. And Hilda shows up near some kids, and Sabrina says that in Hilda's case, it should be the other way around. So the movie's so scary, it even scares witches? Normally that'd be realistic, but this is a series where at this point the witches think ugly means beautiful. So wouldn't Hilda think that the green-skinned woman was beautiful? I guess even they have limits, because witches in the series don't have green skin. So their standard of beauty wouldn't include green skin as a part of beauty. Or red eyes. The idea of Hilda being easily scared only makes sense in the sense that she's paranoid sometimes of mortals finding out about witches and going after her in a mob that she could easily take. Archie's TV Lab Out, Issue 30, The Fruitcake. I found this in Betty and Veronica Double Digest 218. Sabrina tells Harvey that she has a present for him under the tree. He thanks her for the shirt, and Sabrina says she loves his bracelet. I bet these gifts will never be seen again. So nice though. Harvey wishes it was made of diamonds, and Sabrina says nicely that she loves this because it comes from the heart. For some reason, Harvey has a present for Hilda too, actually. And Hilda's been sulking in the closet because Ambrose hated her fruitcake. He says she's being silly in front of her, so of course she calls him out. Hilda says she'll come out if Harvey eats her cake. He eats it and tells her to get back in the closet. She throws something at him, and when she's told that he got her a present, she's actually honored. I wonder if it sucks, because she's getting her hopes up. She apologizes to him for saying those nasty things, and gets a plunger, because the man at the store said it had tons of uses. And the story ends with it on his face. She could just zap it up whenever she wants. This story was about Hilda having the famously boneheaded idea to give someone a fruitcake, when she should know that they're infamous for being awful. And she sulks about him not liking it. And then she gets her comeuppance for being mean to Harvey. Archie's TV Lab Out, Tall Tale. Hilda tells Salem that she wants him to keep Sabrina out of mischief while she's gone. Sabrina? Won't Hilda want her to cause mischief because that's her character at this point in the franchise? At first I wanted to read it as her telling Sabrina to keep Salem out of mischief because Salem's the one who's known for mischief. Maybe what she means is that to her, mischief is Sabrina doing good deeds with magic. And that's mischief because it'll get Della to complain and maybe punish her family. And she assumes Salem's familiar enough with her to know that's what she meant. It's very confusing though. Also, it's lazy to not explain what Hilda's going to be doing while she's gone. I have to assume she's going grocery shopping. But why wouldn't she just zap up everything she wants for free as an experienced witch? She gives Salem's tail magical powers, which is also confusing if you've seen the 70s cartoon that this is supposed to be based on, where Salem always has magic, and it's never said to be because of this. In this particular universe, Salem doesn't have magic naturally, and this is the first time he's ever had magic based on his reaction. Salem decides to waste time testing it out, and he creates a can of high-quality tuna. He sees a dog barking at a cat up a tree, and is offended at it, so he uses magic to turn the dog into a punching bag. And by that he meant that the dog would have a rope tied around him as he's hanging from a tree. And again, he gets what he wants, which makes more sense than the magic interpreting him too literally. Then Salem goes too far when he tells the other cats to line up and punch him. Somehow the cats are all able to stand upright and hold their fists out. Sabrina conveniently thinks to look out the window, probably because Salem was outside for too long. And she feels that realistically she heard Hilda say what she did. She walks saying she'd better free the dog before the neighbor sees this. And I guess the reason she phrased it the normal way is that she doesn't want to scare it even more with even more magic or get witnessed. Salem's aware that he's living in the richest country in the world despite being a cat, and he feels sorry for hungry stray cats. So he tells them to follow him to the automatic milk machine, and uses magic to make it spray milk for them. While he did do it for the right reason, it was still wrong for cheating people out of money. And Sabrina's right that he shouldn't destroy other people's property. At least she acknowledges that it was for a good cause instead of being oblivious about the fact that he was doing things for a good cause. She looks at a book for vending machine incantations specifically, and wonders where the chapter is on repairing milk machines. It can make sense because she'd need a diagram to show her what's imagined to imagine it as repaired. Then Salem evilly plans on giving every dog in the dog show the fleas. Thankfully, Sabrina stops him. Too bad she has to nod his tail. I've heard that's painful. I assume that when she does it, it being painless is part of the spell, because she wants to know it's painful and isn't sadistic. She says she's exhausted, and Hilda asks Salem if he kept Sabrina out of mischief, and Sabrina says he did, not even questioning that she was accused of being prone to mischief for no reason. This story was about Salem using magic after Hilda recklessly gives him powers out of the unexplained paranoia that Sabrina would cause mischief if Salem didn't stop her. And Salem's mean to dogs, and is at least nice to cats. So Sabrina fixes the problems he causes, and I'm just confused that Hilda wanted Sabrina to stay out of mischief. It'd be in character if she gave him magic so he'd cause mischief. There's a comedy page that's also in a Sabrina story collection on Kindle called Sabrina's Magic School. Sabrina says that getting ready for school can be a drag. She lampshades that she's a fool and asks why she doesn't use her magic to get to school on time. She would have gotten into the habit of doing this years ago as soon as she found out she had powers. She says classroom, here I come, and warps to the class in her pajamas. Aside from them having polka dots, it doesn't look that embarrassing. It's a two-piece outfit. And considering how different the fashion of the 70s was, it'd be nice if people didn't bat an eye at this. And she could cast a spell to make that the case, so it's too bad Sabrina says out loud that she's in her pajamas so that everyone knows about it.